Okay, so here I am, just about ready to start with this game of Silverton. I've handed out the trains to everyone. Everyone looked at their points for prospectors and surveyors, and with the option I'm playing with, you only have 6 points. You must buy a surveyor and prospector. They each cost 3. So, everybody's forced to start with a level 0 surveyor or prospector, or a level 1, or whatever you want to say. Now, this is not necessarily the best for competitive play, because a good die roll wins you an action, and then in terms of you win a competition, the other guy might even worse end up in jail or whatever, but it also earns you a bonus in terms of getting better. So people can get to a good jump right off the bat. I wouldn't suggest playing with this in a seriously competitive game, but Silverton can be fun either way, and I like it just because, well, with a lot of players, you actually do have some opportunity to affect one another quite a bit, although it becomes harder to take somebody down if they have that advantage. I dealt out the turn order cards. Purple's going to be going first. Now, they're based out of Salt Lake City. I positioned the people kind of based on the board. White's going to be based out of Santa Fe, yellow out of El Paso, blue down here in Pueblo, which is actually my least favorite starting place, and green and red are going to be based out of Denver. Well, I should amend that. Things like El Paso. El Paso kind of plays by itself, as does Salt Lake City. In the original game, 6 players meant 1 player was in Santa Fe. You had these 3, and you had 2 in Salt Lake City. Now with the expansion, Salt Lake City alone becomes quite potent. And, you know, honestly, that's a tough advantage to break. Anyway, what we're going to do is we look at some of the cards. The first player's got to make his choice. He's got to prospect and survey. If he looks at the cards, and I've kind of arranged them geographically, there's actually a decent amount. 3, well, not these. These are the routes. The routes are interesting too. The Salt Lake City to Provo he's interested in. That's the first one he can get to. Costs him $50. It'll pay out 20 a turn. But if you look at the actual mines, Bingham, Heber City, these 2 are really within his striking range. Both are interesting. Copper's generally the most interesting thing you can pick up. And to have a copper mine nearby, there aren't a lot of them in the Northwest. Most of them are conglomerated down here, which generally means that player dominates the copper markets. Okay, so I'm looking at Bingham, Heber City, and Provo as sort of my initial locations. Now, Heber City I can get directly to. Provo I can get directly to. Bingham I can get directly to. All 3 are right next to me. Question is what I want to do. Well, I certainly am going to survey to Provo. Nobody else can get that, and that gives me a quick bonus there where I'll be able to generate cash that, you know, hooking up the mines isn't that necessary right away, because unless you become starved for cash, there isn't a lot in this game, but until you become starved for cash, you don't really need them hooked up. You can keep producing on them. Now he wants to go prospecting. His 2 choices are the copper mine in Bingham and the silver in Heber City. They're both equivalent in my book in terms of what can get... Sorry, got distracted. I thought that might be my UPS guy. They're both equivalent in terms of how far away he has to go and what he can produce, etc., and about equivalent in terms of the cash payout for the goods. What's the slight advantage? Well, the silver's a worse mine, but it's a little more expensive. It's worse in the sense that it can deplete easier. I'm going to go for the Bingham mine. I think it's the better of the 2. The problem, so there's 2 problems in mind. One is, it would be kind of cool to get the Heber City and start producing silver before other people do. Hook it up and make some quick cash off of it, because he might be able to pan that out and, you know, collect the income off of it before anyone else collects any silver income. The only other silvers are Aspen and Westcliff, which are over here and not terribly close. Aspen is up here, and Westcliff, I don't remember where it is. It's down here, which is actually fairly close to the Pueblo player. Now, there is no copper out there, but the copper, the problem with the copper mine is someone else could prospect it and take it away from him. So there's kind of a risk there. He's going to go for the copper one. In my own game, I might have considered the Heber City one. Yeah, I'll roll, because I think it's... Yeah, he'll actually go for the Heber City. The reason for that is, as I said, to grab the money quickly. Now, the danger is, yes, somebody could grab that copper mine, but everybody's probably going to be feathering their own nest. Yes, Salt Lake City's an advantage, but if you go out of your way to start hurting the Salt Lake City player this early, that's when you really have to do it, actually. You're also hurting yourself just as much. Okay, so we spent a lot of time thinking about where he's going to place his stuff. I'm going to go to everybody else, and I'll come back after that. Okay, so the placements are down. Let me go over them in order. I had some trouble just because of the ordering. Red came second, and they made a choice. Westcliff, the better of the two silver mines out of Aspen and Westcliff, and they grabbed the short route down to Colorado Springs. Fair enough. Well, here's the issue here, though. The green player can also get that same line, and it's essentially the same distance. It's not the best distance, though. There's a Pueblo to Denver route here, which is a little better line. Blue has essentially grabbed that by taking the rail up here to Manitou Junction. This is a little bit shorter. It only costs 4. That's the same as here in terms of distance, but it costs 6 instead of 7. That gives them the edge to Denver, so they should win competitions there. Of course, somebody else could grab that track, but the Pueblo player usually gets this. Alternatively, green could have gone here, but then they would have been beaten out by blue laying the track first. They can't declare a challenge because there's actually a town there, a location that it wouldn't block off their route, as it were. They could always jog around it. So they can't declare that they're racing to get there. At least that's my reading of it. I might be mistaken about that, and I should... No, because green will go for the other one no matter what. Okay, so let's look at 5, who's the Santa Fe player. He's hooking up this Santa Fe, and he's trying to get down to Albuquerque. That's his close one. Almost everything has a close run that it can make, like the Salt Lake City to Deming. No, I'm sorry, El Paso to Deming. Salt Lake City to Provost, or something like that. Provo. Here, White's trying to get down to Albuquerque. That's his closest one of these. And he looks at the Elizabethtown gold mine, which isn't too far from him. He'll start developing that. And finally, Yellow is setting up the El Paso to Deming route. That's automatically his, basically. But he does want to collect the money as soon as possible. And he's going to... He had trouble finding a good location. His only things near him... Oh, White Oaks is also near him. Were Magdalena, Cole, and Paxton Springs. Magdalena's up here. White Oaks is here. Paxton Springs is up here. That's a little far for a starting one. Getting Cole running into El Paso doesn't seem like a bad idea. It's not... There's a lot of... Coal can get very valuable in El Paso. Salt Lake City is actually the place where coal kind of gets overloaded. There's a lot of coal here, and it all gets dumped into Salt Lake City and depresses the price. El Paso is actually usually one of the better places for coal, so he's kind of attracted to that. He also probably has his own little market. Okay, now, we have to worry about possible disputes here. So, we've got a couple of dispute possibilities. There would have been one perhaps here, but I chose not to pursue it. So here, blue and red are going to have one. And I basically roll 2 dice. Blue rolls 2 dice, and they get a 12. That's very good. I think they may have shot someone, though. And red gets a 5. Now let's just make sure that blue didn't shoot red. I don't remember. A 2 sends you to jail. Okay. Gotcha. All right, so blue has won West Cliff. He gets the opportunity to buy it before red does, and he won a prospecting challenge, so he gets to upgrade his prospector. And this is where things become scary, because now he's going to have a +1 on all his prospecting coming out in the near future. Okay, now we go to construction and operation, and we jump over to that first player, and he gets to buy the stuff he wanted to buy. And we'll do that kind of by hand for this first one, and probably not spend any attention to it later. He's going to buy Hebrew City. That's going to cost him $80 to buy the claim for it, and 40 more to operate. So he owes $120. Normally he'd roll 2 dice, but because it's his first operation of the claim, he only rolls 1 and adds 6. He gets a big 11. That's going to be 4 silver shows up there. That's a good roll. He gets his prospector back. And he also was going to buy this. Now he doesn't have to buy them. So he spent a total of $100 for this and $120 for this. He owes $220 out of his cash on hand. I'll pay that out, and I'll handle the rest of the people. He could do a number of other things now, but there's nothing else really available at this early in the game. He doesn't have track laid that he can use. He'd have track going to Provo, but there's nothing there. All there is a passenger route, which he has to claim next turn. Okay, so now one thing everyone did have an option to do, and everyone passed on it, was they could buy a big train, or a snowplow, or something along those lines. Nobody's got a clear understanding that they're going to need a snowplow. And as to those 15 trains, well, maybe they'll be making it to here where there's a more valuable train to purchase. Money is a little tight. You don't want to run through it like mad. Everybody's mines actually produced quite well, except for red, who doesn't have one. But everybody pretty much rolled close to their maximums here. Coal produced 5, 3 gold, which is huge. Just a lot of production took place. Now we go to determine price changes, and well, nobody sold anything, so the prices are going to largely go up. For example, with the gold, we roll a die, and we see 4, no change. Silver or copper, 1 die plus quantity sold, none was sold. Rolls a 5, no change. Okay, so maybe the prices aren't going up much. 2 dice, quantity sold, there is none. Minus IDN, the IDN is 0. This will go up as high as 7 eventually, but right now silver is tending not to increase as much. And I roll a 5, which actually drives the price up 1, which is good. And I'll do the same for these other values. Now, beyond that, we're going to draw new cards up there, and I'll come back after that. Okay, well, the prices were kind of depressed, especially the lumber and coal have all dropped a little bit. No big deal. That's to be expected in this game. In fact, it might be valuable if you can hook up a run right away to dump it, because you will get a good price on coal and lumber compared to what you'll get in the near future until the IDN starts climbing a little, probably. When we get some new cards, always filling out the pile. And nobody's got any of these, so none of them appear. Alright, well, that's the end of the first turn. We're on to the second turn. And we'll load this one up and keep going.